Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining me today in this live webinar on how to change your diet in the winter according to Ayurveda. This is a very important subject, not understood here in the West. In fact, there are 6 seasons in Ayurveda, but we could just break these down into 3: spring, uh, summer, and fall and winter kind of combined. And so we're talking today about the fall winter period, which we could further subdivide into like the fall period where it's cold in the night, warm in the day, there's more wind, it's more dry, there's not much rain. And then as it goes into the winter, then there's going to be kind of more snow and rain and water, and in most climates, some dampness. So that's what we're talking about, this transition kind of from fall to winter, and how to adjust your diet to stay healthy during this period. Because we have to understand, during this period, it's cold, it's dark, not as much sunlight, the whole environment's kind of more a little heavier, and it can be either dry or mostly damp, depending on your environment. And this cold, damp environment, which now we have when it starts to rain and snow and freeze, this is increasing the kapha dosha. And as we know, the kapha dosha has the same qualities: cold, heavy, dense, static, and contributes to weight gain, congestion, mucus, phlegm, respiratory problems, etc. And that's what happens to people in the winter. They gain weight, have more respiratory congestion, more mucus, more phlegm, and this makes them more susceptible to colds and infections. So if you want to avoid this weight gain, the cold, flus, mucus, and respiratory problems, then this is why, this is what should motivate you to change your diet now to not allow this kapha dosha to increase, which will result in these kapha imbalances: weight gain, heavy, lethargic, cold, static, respiratory congestion, etc. So there's great value in it. A lot of times people think, oh, I'm eating healthy, I don't know why I have a cold. I'm eating healthy, I don't know why I'm gaining weight. I'm eating healthy. Well, in Ayurveda, it's a little bit more sophisticated than eating healthy. It's, of course, eating to your prakriti, your body type, and furthermore, even your vikriti, or your imbalance, but also according to the seasons. Now, the easiest way to eat to the seasons is just grow all your vegetables and grow all of your fruits, and then you will be eating to the seasons because you have no choice. The other way, and I do grow a lot of vegetables, and right now I do have radishes, carrots, and some cabbage and cauliflower growing, of course, protected from the cold. And it's tricky to grow during the cold season, but some of these vegetables do grow. So that tells me those vegetables are good for me in the winter time because I can grow them in the winter time. And of course, if you're not growing all your own vegetables, and then the best is just go to the farmer's market and buy whatever the farmer has, because then you will be eating in season. And by eating in season, not just in the winter, but also in the spring, you'll be eating the spring harvest, which is going to be lighter and more leafy greens and sprouts, and it's going to help clean you out and detox you and help to liquefy the mucus that you accumulated during the cold, damp winter and help you lose weight. And then in the summertime, you're going to have more fruits and berries and melons and mangoes and cooling foods that are going to help keep you cool during the summer. And then as fall comes, you can have more roots and oil and building foods and even animal protein to build more body tissue and balance vata dosha to allow you to go into the fall and not feel weak and depleted and dry. So eating with the seasons, or eating as you should be eating if we weren't going to the supermarket and eating all these fruits and vegetables, which are out of season, will greatly contribute to your health. So again, I'll repeat, eating good doesn't always mean just eating organic food. It's eating in season. And this is what this talk is about, is eating for this time of year as we're moving into winter, which, as I mentioned, has mostly the cold and damp qualities, particularly once the rain starts. So that makes it very difficult to lose weight during this time of year because it's already the kapha time of year. And so most people, just like the animals, will gain some weight in the fall, hold this weight during the winter, have difficulty losing it. But of course, this weight is what's protecting the animals from the elements outside. For example, my horse, for the last 3 or 4 months, I've been just giving him cups of oil into his supplements and just really trying to put some weight on him. And because he's an Arab and he's a hard keeper. So I really have to make an effort to put weight on him. And I have to do that to prepare him for the winter, because even though I put a jacket on him, he is outside, and I give him garlic powder in his food and etc. to build up his immunity. So even a horse, you have to change his diet to allow him to be healthy through the winter time. And it's not the time you want your horse or you to lose weight. So a lot of people I know in the new year want to make New Year's resolutions like, let's lose weight. And they want to fast and juice and have more salads and things, but it's not the time. It's very difficult to lose weight in the winter. If you're a somewhat overweight person and you're trying to lose weight, just be happy you can maintain your weight in the winter time, and just be relaxed and wait until the spring, until it starts getting warm. And that is the time to detox, cleanse, make a lighter diet, exercise more, longer days, warmer climate, and lose some weight. Now's not the time. And this is why a lot of people fail in their New Year resolutions for losing weight, because it's the wrong time to focus on weight loss. You got to go and make it easy and go with the seasons, with the environment, and with the wind, as they say. And now is not the time to be focusing on weight loss. It's a time to get through the winter and not let the weight gain and not accumulate kapha and mucus and respiratory problems and too much kapha. Then you will have allergies in the spring. So not only will this changing this diet now help you during this time of year not create more mucus and weight gain and respiratory problems, but it's also going to help you in the spring, because if you get too much kapha and mucus and phlegm now, you're going to have more allergies in the springtime. So it's very, very important for health. And we have to think beyond this simple concept, I'm eating good, so I must be healthy, and start to tune back to nature. So first, I'd like to cover some little bit of lifestyle changes, then dietary changes that are necessary. For his lifestyle changes, number one, stay warm, layers. So I put on some extra layers here today. It's very cold here, almost freezing. So you have undershirt, we have a nice flannel shirt, we have a vest on top of that, and then we have a jacket on top of that. And scarves are very good, and keeping the neck warm. Hats are very good to keep the heat in. That's our biggest enemy in the fall, and the winter is cold, and that's why we get the cold. So keeping yourself warm is obvious, but I still see a lot of people not doing it or putting it off until they already catch the cold, and then they start bundling up. So keep the heat in, bundle up. Hot showers, hot baths, hot saunas is very important. And also, because it's so dry in the fall, oil massage is so helpful. Oh, I wish I would have done more. I did one last night. Covered my whole body in oil and massaged it. And then I took a hot shower. Oh, felt great. My skin felt better the next day. And, it really motivates me to do it more often. If your environment in the winter is still dry, then you can keep doing oil massage and more oil. in the winter. So keeping the body externally dry, moist and not too dry with oil massage, more oil in the diet, and of course, most important, warm by wearing layers. And now when it comes to the diet, we have to remember, of course, the qualities of winter: cold, damp, and dark, heavy. So we want to balance that with warm foods, hot foods, lighter foods, very important, light, not heavy, not like steaks and hamburgers, but more like lentils and beans and lighter vegetables. And if it's very damp, you can have dry food. But if it's very dry where you are, particularly we're inside, we have the heater going, that only makes it more dry. It's cold outside, dry inside. So then we want to have more oil in the diet, things like that. Now, when it comes to fruits, it's best to always have local fruits, what you can get. But apple citrus, of course, is very good in the wintertime, warming. We know it has a lot of niacin, which heats up the body and warms up the body. And even if you have apples, better to have applesauce, warm it up, put some cinnamon on it. Everything you can, try to warm it up and make it warm. Should be absolutely nothing cold in the wintertime. And even if you had, say you're thin and you're young and you want a little milk to help you sleep at night, then you should warm that milk up. And even if you have apples, you should just make warm applesauce. Just try to heat up everything. Add onions, ginger, garlic to everything. And and citrus, of course, is very good. And if you have fruit, in most cases, you should soak it, like soaked raisins, soaked prunes, soaked figs. And of course, in almost all cases, fruit should be eaten on its own and not mixed with other foods, particularly grains. And fruits you should limit during the summer or winter is the cooling summer foods, like melons, cool as a melon. You don't need melons in the winter. Cherries, avocados, bananas, the tropical foods. Coconuts, dates, these are tropical and warm environments. We don't need these in the wintertime. And like mango, that's a summer food. Kiwi, pineapple. So we want the citrus and the other ones like I said, some soaked fruits and pomegranate, persimmon, pears. These are all fine, only by themselves. As far as vegetables, we should focus on root vegetables, sweet potato, not white potato as much. Some white potato, particularly cooked with a sauce and a gravy, but the best is sweet potatoes, beets, carrots, and the cruciferous family, the broccoli, the cabbage, the cauliflower, the kale, but all cooked, not raw, all cooked in a stew with oil and warm. This is the way it should be prepared. Everything, and prepare it with garlic and onions and ginger, which is not just good to warm your body, keep from the inside, but build your immunity, prevent infection, prevent mucus and congestion. Now, green beans are good. Asparagus, if it's in season. Radish is good. I'm growing radish in the winter. Now, tomatoes is a summer food, but you could have tomato sauce in moderation, but not raw tomatoes. The vegetables you should avoid in the winter is the cold and cooling ones, and raw vegetables. Everything should be cooked and warm and soupy. So we don't need any salads. We don't need lettuce. We don't need sprouts. We don't need tomatoes. For sure, we don't need cool cucumbers. We don't even need summer squash, zucchini, and no mushrooms. Maybe a little bit cooked is all right, but they're really not a winter food. And grains, we should have a little bit lighter grains, like some of those gluten-free grains like millet, buckwheat, amaranth, and quinoa would be the best, particularly if you're a kapha-dominant person. Maybe if you're vata or pitta, you could have more basmati rice and whole grains, and maybe even steel-cut oats if you're vata. The grains to limit would be the more heavy ones because it's a kapha period of time. We don't want to gain more weight during this period where it's already dark and cold and the days are shorter and it's easy to gain weight. So we don't want to do a lot of white rice and and whole wheat bread, unless we're quite thin and imbalanced. Um, and when it comes to dairy, of course, dairy is increasing kapha. So we don't want a lot. We don't want milk and no yogurt, no cheese, unless you're a really imbalanced, thin, depleted person. You may be able to get away with that. But ghee is okay. You don't have to eliminate all dairy. Ghee is still can put on your food. And goat milk is actually a warm milk. So if you can get goat milk, if you're a thin, depleted person and you really want something building and strengthening in the winter time that doesn't create much mucus, goat milk, warm, hot goat milk. So it's very important. Just don't think, oh, dairy's bad, throw it all out the window. It's depends on the season, depends on you and your own imbalance. It depends on your own weight. Depends on how much mucus and congestion that you accumulate. But for me, I do a lot of milk in the summer. It's very cooling, nourishing, sweet, and it's really extremely cooling in hot weather, but very little I do in the winter. But I keep going with the ghee, and definitely no ice cream in the winter. Even if you're in a nice, warm, cozy house with the heater blazing away, don't do ice cream. Please. I mean, ice cream really shouldn't have any time of the year. It's really a disastrous food because, it's cold dairy. I mean, doesn't get much worse than that besides eating big bowls of yogurt. So no yogurt, no cow milk, no cheese, no sour cream, no ice cream. These are all kapha increasing. You can have some nuts, but you should never overeat nuts. I mean, I don't know, people got online and started thinking nuts are high in omega-3s and started overeating them. And now I got all these people gaining weight and constipating themselves from snacking on nuts. So you really should soak most of the nuts or cook them or put them in your oatmeal or put them in your stir fry, your vegetables. But nuts are, kapha increasing. So you should do them in moderation in the winter, to say the least. And definitely not be snacking on them all day, and really avoid salted nuts. Salt is increasing kapha. You should never do peanuts. It's not even a real nut. And some of these other nuts like hazelnut, macadamia, and these are not suitable for the wintertime. Animal products, you should be light on the animal products because animal products are all building and kapha increasing, as you know. So, bone broth, meat broth, egg whites, some, white chicken meat, wild fish, fresh water is even lighter than sea fish. Of course, if you're going to do salmon, it should all be wild. Don't do farm raised. Shrimp is quite light. White turkey meat, all good. And venison is a light, dry meat. And what you should limit in the winter time is the red meat, the pork, salty seafoods, and never do farm fish and cut back on the dark chicken meat. And oils should be warming, building oils like sesame oil, olive oil, coconut oil. It should be a little bit of oil, more oil, particularly in the fall because it's so dry in the fall. And you should avoid oils like coconut oil, and definitely don't do vegetable oil and canola oil. And spice up your food a lot more in the winter. Obviously, you don't want to be having chili pepper, cayenne pepper too much in the summertime where, pitta dosha is high. There's more susceptibility to rosacea, burning, acid, heartburn, irritable bowel, ulcerative colitis, excess menstrual bleeding, etc. All these things can happen a lot in the summertime. I know because that's when I'll sell the herbs and get the patients for those conditions. So it's very clear to somebody like myself when all these health problems come. Just like in the winter, we'll get a lot of colds and flus and mucus and congestion. Then in the spring, you get all the allergies. Every year, it's the same. And so by following this diet, you can avoid a lot of these problems, particularly if you use more spices and warming spices like ginger, black pepper, cumin, turmeric, cinnamon, clove. In the winter time, it's warming the body, improving the circulation, keep reducing the mucus and the phlegm, And other spices like oregano, thyme can build your immunity and prevent infection. Even cayenne pepper in small amounts will keep the blood flowing, keep the blood thin, and but low in salt during the winter. And never use table salt. Now, honey, of course, is very good. Not everything sweet is bad. Honey is clearing mucus, clearing phlegm, helping build immunity. So you can have your oatmeal with honey. You can have warm milk or goat milk with a little honey. But you never should have white sugar and anything with sugar. It lowers your immunity, increases your inflammation, depletes you of nutrients, and contributes to diabetes. So I would just throw all the white sugar out the window and try to have, you could eat a little lighter in the winter. I mean, the days are shorter. So for many people who are overweight, you could just do 2 meals a day and less snacking and just a little fruit in between. But everything should be warm and in the fall, particularly if you're dry, more oil and less animal protein, more legumes like lentil vegetable soup, nice and warm lentil vegetable soup with a grain that's suitable for you. If you're overweight or kapha, you can do the quinoa, the amaranth, the buckwheat. And maybe if you're vata or pitta, you could do more rice, brown rice. Only if you had diarrhea or loose stool would you want to do white rice. It's very nutritionally void, constipating, and weight gaining. So very few people can really benefit from white rice. So I hope that helped you, and as far as teas go, it's the time to have tea. Where's my tea? I'm drinking tea all the time. Even in the summer, I just don't drink it hot. But in the winter, you can have immune tea, which we provide, cold and flu tea, which I sell, and which I'm drinking immune tea now because, I want to keep my 20-year record going of never catching a cold or flu. And basically, by following the guidelines I just told you here, plus having immune tea, couple cups a day, you too can never have the cold or flu. And that really should be one of your main objectives going into winter, is just not getting sick, not gaining weight. Herbman Teas. All those products are available on herbmanteas.com. Cold and flu tea, immune tea, and even circulation tea. All these warming teas to help to keep the digestion strong, keep the circulation going, keep the immunity high, and help you to get through the winter healthy without a cold or flu or mucus or congestion. And then you'll even feel better in the spring. You won't feel as heavy. You won't have gained as much weight. You won't have allergies. And then you can do a little cleanse and detox in the spring. And then you'll really feel full of energy in the summer. In fact, in the winter, you don't even want to, particularly fall, you don't want to run too much or exercise too much because you're trying to build up and prepare the body for the winter. So even the time of year that you do the exercise is important. Which yoga you do, which asanas you do, which pranayama you do, all should be based on the season. So, but I hope this helped you. And this subject is easily known. I mean, it's a thousands of years old history. You can just go look it up online. What asana to do during the winter, what breathing pranayama to do during the winter, what diet to follow during the winter. Just add the word according to Ayurveda to your search, and you will find this information. It's nothing new. It's just ancient knowledge that we've forgotten today, and is a major contributor to many of our health problems because we're not staying in season with our diet. We're not staying in sync with the seasons, and this is creating imbalances in our body, which are contributing to health problems and ultimately disease. And this is why in the fall and the winter, where it's dry, people are getting constipated easier. Even people have more joint pain in the wintertime because of the cold. So all these guidelines that I gave you to stay warm, have warm foods, root vegetables, more oil, will also help to reduce your joint pain and your arthritis, which goes up during the winter. And, people get more cracking joints, more joint pain. So if you want to avoid all these symptoms, and then, it's very important to change your diet, change your lifestyle each season, at least 3 times a year. So in spring, look for the next webinar on how to adjust your diet for spring. And summer comes, look for the information on how to change your diet for the summer. And after you go through a whole year, you will realize you have more energy, you're having less health issues, you're having better digestion, you're not getting constipated in the fall, you're not getting weight gain in the winter, you're not getting allergies in the spring. You'll see a big improvement in your health just by making these seasonal changes. We call it dinacharya, lifestyle changes as per Ayurveda, which has been known for thousands of years. This is the ancient wisdom of Ayurveda, which we only don't follow at our own detriment. I wish you all the best of health and happiness and a healthy winter with no mucus, no congestion, no colds, no flu, and no weight gain. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.